Hi, and welcome to Paper Route Scrapbooking. I'm Nadine, and today we're going to talk about making chevrons out of triangles of patterned paper. Okay, so the inspiration behind this is this Shape of the Day, International Scrapbooking Day prompt from Scrapbook Generation, and their Saturday shape was triangles, and their Shape It Up Inspiration triangle piece had chevrons made out of triangles. Now, I have done this before in a class with Nicole Noasad at Crop and Create, but I no longer have the instruction sheet from this, so I had to start from scratch and try to remember how I figured this out. So because I was starting from scratch and figuring out measurements and whatnot, what I did was I measured the short side of the triangle, and it came out to be 2 inches long, and that tells me that these were triangles cut from 2-inch squares. So I cut a bunch of patterned paper into 2-inch squares, and I cut down a sheet of white cardstock, just very basic white cardstock, and I cut this sheet is 12 by 8.5, and so that's where I'm going to build my triangle chevrons on. And then after I'm done that, then I'll mount it on a pretty piece of white cardstock, because this is not pretty white cardstock, kind of like we did here. And so I wanted to scrapbook pictures from St. Patrick's Day, and so I remembered I had a kit I had put together a long time ago using the Charmed Life Simple Stories collection, and I have still some bits and pieces from that, but not full sheets of paper, which is perfect for this because you don't need a full sheet of paper to create these chevrons. In fact, this yellow strip here was made from a 4x6 card. So what you need to do is you need to cut a 2-inch strip of paper, and do I even need to do this? Probably not. So 2-inch, I'm just going to use this for an example because I already cut my triangles. So 2 inches, and it can be just a 4x6 card cut in half lengthwise. And then once you have your 2-inch square, you want to turn it on its side, measure it up into your paper trimmer. So mine has like a little wire in it that shows me where the blade is going to go. And so once it's in there, I put pressure down on here to hold the paper still and just slice it. And then I have 2 equal triangle pieces. And so these 2 triangle pieces are what I'm going to build my, well, not these 2, but the triangle pieces are what I'm going to build my chevron out of. So to give my chevron a little bit of definition, I have inked the edges. Now in order to know, and I'm actually building it this way because it made more sense to me, in order to know which chevron or which parts of the triangle to ink, I realized from my other inspiration piece that the inked edges of, this is all wrong, the inked edges needed to be on the side that was going to connect with the other, not the same color. Does that make sense? So this green is only inked on the edges that's touching the wood grain. The wood grain is only inked on the edges that's touching the green, so that it just gives a little bit of definition to that. So this line in the center is not inked. And so for these edge pieces are another half of this. So how did this go? This way. Do you see that? So if I move this out of the way. So I cut this triangle in half again for the side edge pieces. So the only part that doesn't work for this inking technique is those side pieces. So for the bigger triangle pieces, I'm going to ink the 2 edges that are the same size. So if you're a math person, you're not inking the hypotenuse of your triangle, the long side. And I'm just going to lay that down, kind of centered over the other chevron. And then I'm going to tack this down. Now the long side of this one needs to be touching the triangle. So then the next piece I'm going to put down is a colored piece, so I'm going to go with these. This was also not a full sheet of patterned paper because I don't have any full sheets left. Let's see if I have any left. So I had these pockets, and I don't know really what to do with them. I've used a few of them, and they're lovely, but I don't put them on every page. So I'm just gonna, what I did was I opened them up, and I just used the inside patterned paper from that, because you don't need a whole bunch. You need about, for the colored parts, I think 3 squares was enough. Okay, 3 2x2 squares. Now I'm going to ink the edges that are not the longest edge, and then I'm going to put adhesive on all 3 sides of my triangle, and I'm going to just tack it down like that. And then I'm going to take a wood grain piece and just alternate. So the 2 sides that are not the longest, and I'm going to put glue on all 3 sides, and I'm going to tack it down. And then I'm going to take another patterned paper and ink the 2 sides that are not the longest. I'm going to put adhesive on all 3 sides and tack it down. I'm going to take a wood grain piece. I'm going to ink the 2 edges that are not the longest. And I'm going to tack it down. Now this wood grain piece I had to pull from my stash because I didn't have any wood grains left in the collection, and I wanted it to be my neutral. So every other chevron is the same pattern, and then the more bold, bright colors are the alternating pattern. So this one is going to go here. This is where the little ones, I just put them down and I see where they end up. And I ink the edges that are not, I did that wrong because I just inked the edges that are not the longest, but that's not what I needed to do. So I need to measure it up on here, and I need to ink the edge that's touching the wood grain, and that's along the edge. So the one that's touching the wood grain and the one that's along the edge. Okay, so I'm going to put adhesive on here, all 3 sides, and I'm going to tack it down. And then I'm going to do the same thing along here, but this time I'm going to start with my wood grain, and I'm going to ink these 2 edges. I'm going to put adhesive on all 3 sides, and I'm going to tack it down. And then I'm going to use my patterned paper. I'm going to ink the 2 edges that are not the longest. I'm going to put adhesive on all 3 sides, and I'm going to tack it down. I'm going to take another piece of wood grain paper. I'm going to ink the 2 edges that are not the longest. I'm going to put glue adhesive on all 3 sides, and I'm going to tack it down. I'm going to take another piece of the patterned paper, the green polka dot, and I'm going to ink the edges that are not the longest. I'm going to put adhesive on all 3 sides, and I'm going to tack it down. So I'm hoping that my repetition is going to help you see that it's a very repetitive process, and once you've done a few triangles, it becomes a really just like repetitive thing, and it's not as complicated as it looks, but it's so beautiful in the end. And I'm going to use another one of these patterned pieces, and I'm going to ink 2 edges that are not the longest, put adhesive on all 3 sides, and tack it down. Then I have a smaller wood grain piece. I'm going to ink the edge that will touch the patterned paper and the outside edge. I'm going to put adhesive on all 3 sides, and I'm going to tack it down. Now, as you can see, because I started on this side is all totally uneven, and that's okay. I'm just gonna slice it off. I'm just gonna slice a smidgen of it off when I'm finished. And that'll be the end of that. And so I'll finish this up on camera with you so that you can see a little bit more of my process, but I'll be less repetitive in my talking while I do it. And then I will turn off the camera and finish my layout and just post full like close-up shots of my layout and a picture of what the layout looks like in the end. And then you guys will have maybe a new technique you can try. It should be fun. I think 3 will be more than enough. So I can tell you if you want to use pocket cards or 6x6 papers for this, it would be perfect. My only live and learn kind of suggestion for you guys is to use more basic patterns like polka dots and like tone on tone stuff, because I really don't like the way this one turned out. Maybe that's just a personal preference thing and you love it and you can recreate it, that's fine. But I just really don't like, because the lines don't line up, I think. It just looks weird to me, but that's okay. That's just where I'm going to put my photos, so it's not going to matter in the end. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. So the story I want to tell with this one is of my grandbaby boy and his mommy sent me pictures on his first, what do you call, St. Patrick's Day, and he had a little tie and stuff. He was super cute. And then I just wanted to add that to his album. Now I think instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm just going to use these to end off my page, because that's kind of how it started, and I think that will be fine. So I'm going to ink this edge because it's touching the wood grain, and the outside edge. I have to think those ones through. The ones on the sides are the ones that get me confused because they're not always the same, whereas the bigger triangles are all just the 2 sides that are not the longest. So I hope that you guys enjoy learning a couple of new things along the way and not just seeing a layout come together. So I did another one about how to make a ribbon star, and I thought that layout turned out so pretty. So I thought I would pop on and show you guys how this went together too, because although it looks super complicated and it took me a hot minute to figure it out, once you have the measurement of like, I need 2x2 squares, and I don't need much patterned paper for this. I can cut it out of a 4x6 card. Like, that's how little paper I need, or a 6x6 paper pad. Maybe it'll inspire you to create something. And if you are inspired to create something, I would love to see it. I would love to hear about it. So please let me know in the comments where I can find you and your fabulous creations, or tag me on Instagram at Nadine's Scraps of Life. I will have that linked below. And I will see if I can find this Simple Stories collection. It's an older one, so probably not, but if I can, I will link that in the box below as well. And I will also link to the SG Scrap Squad, where I was inspired to try another chevron layout out of patterned paper triangles, which turns out to be such an interesting way to put our patterned papers together. It's always nice to try something different, right? I don't know how this one is supposed to go. This way? This way. Okay. All right. So that is my covered up piece. I will just cut off the excess at the end here that's now sticking to my table. And I'll just line it up. Just cut that off. It's going to come off in pieces. That's fun. I should have saw that coming, hey? That was poor planning. Okay. And then I'm going to trim off this edge as well. And I'm just going to see where this one is kind of like the biggest chunker munker. And I'm just going to slice that off. Right. Oh, I lost my blade. Going aside. It helps if I have it go in the right direction, hey? Okay. Let's take that off. There. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you for hanging out with me again today. If you'd like to know more about the things we talked about, please hit the show more button under the video description. And I would love to hear from you if you decide to create something with this patterned paper idea. If you'd like to see more videos here at Paper Route Scrapbooking, please click that subscribe button and be sure to hit the notification bell when a new video goes up. I would super appreciate it if you'd also give me a thumbs up. Thanks and have a great day.